All right, so different topic for today's video than I typically do. Usually it's like tutorial videos, all these other things. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately, especially right now because I've been dealing with migraines. And I've had this before. Basically the trap on me gets so tight, it just compresses that nerve. You have a bunch of nerves coming out of your cervical spine, your neck here. With me, I clench my jaw and then this gets tight. And then finally it eventually builds to the point where it says I'm done. And then I end up having to deal with this. So been focusing on that, doing lower body testing things, going to Dr. John, the chiropractor that I see, another buddy, Zach King, doing some work with him, doing my own soft tissue practice, getting back on board with that because I've kind of fallen off, and making sure that I'm actually continuing to do that. And with this, it's been going on for 2 months now, and I'm going to take this next month off from upper bodies because anytime I do any type of pressing or anything like that, it just sets it off. And these are different because it's nerve compression. When it comes back through the base of the skull here, there's basically the nerves are coming out of the neck. You have some that are coming underneath here. There's basically like a port in the base of the skull. These nerves go through it, right? Back through here, come up here, goes across. It actually comes to your eye here. Occipitalis, right here, this muscle we're looking at, this coming across. It gets really tight. I literally get shooting, like stabbing pain in certain points throughout my head, right? And I can pinpoint them. And if it swells, it gets to the point where like my eye doesn't want to open. If it continues to build, it gets super nauseous actually. So with that, in dealing with that for these last 2 months now, I've really had to force myself to just take a break. So I'm still doing a little bit of natural movement with the kids, but I've also learned, like right now, my body, I just can't climb trees, right? I'm doing a lot of overhead pulling and all that. And I know what set it off with the movement space that I have at Obtain Strength, dealing with all the overhead stuff. So my arms are overhead for extended periods of time. And I mean, I should have been paying more attention, and body didn't like that, and eventually came to a head, and now I'm dealing with this. And going to the massage therapist now, which really helped last time. So doing 30 minutes once a week, doing my own soft tissue practice, still utilizing grip and DNS and stuff like that. And I'll start that more so, especially next week with that. But I really had to just back off anything. And the point of the whole video is even trainers have to take breaks, or they might have to step back, or they might, I mean, we talked about it when we had the podcast, which was we fall prey to the same things that our clients do. We might go on a period where we're eating more sugar than we need to. We're going on a bender, all these other things, eating junk food, and then we just push ourselves, we steer ourselves back in that right direction. The main thing, though, is not beating yourself up about it. One of the things that I've noticed this time is I've been way more self-aware of that, where if it was, man, 5 years ago, I'd be upset, beating myself up, and I was like this last time it happened, which was about 5 years ago. I can't hit the gym, I'm losing all my gains, all this other stuff. Prioritizing what is more important with that too, I think, has helped, which is I'm looking at the long-term picture of being healthy and sustaining movement and all that other things, versus I need to be 200 whatever pounds. I don't even weigh that anymore, right? I'm about 195 right now. 190 to 100, I mean, I fluctuate, but I'm not hyper obsessive about that anymore. Especially if you maybe are a bodybuilder, and this is really geared more towards like the clientele that I have, where they're trying to lose weight. Maybe they do kind of veer off for a little bit. They get off track. If you beat yourself up about that and you're more in that mindset, it's not going to pan out the way you want, right? Usually it just gets worse. Instead, being self-aware and recognizing this is what's going on, it's okay that it's going on, and then steering yourself slowly back to that, versus thinking you have to do it immediately. Most people just, that doesn't work. And like I said, instead their default typically becomes they beat themselves up about it. And a lot of this, I think, has come from, I mean, Gary Vee is blowing up right now, but just really taking to heart that self-awareness that he talks about. And he's talked about this also, just like I said, not beating yourself up about it. If it happens, it happens, that's fine. Dwelling on it is the thing that is usually the poison that's going to just manifest, and then it's going to create a worse situation. It's going to keep you there longer. It doesn't help. I also believe in focusing on the things that are going right at the time, right? I think that's super important. I also think if you're looking at some of Tony Robbins' stuff, doing a shift really quick, right? Focusing on not only the things that are going right, but changing your behavior, the things that you are doing right now that can help kind of veer you back in the right direction, and take you off the path that you're going down, right? You need like a misdirect. Can't remember what he actually calls it, but it's essentially like a state change, right? And that's one of them. But if I'm focusing on, man, I have the migraines going on and this is the cause, and recognizing those things momentarily, but not dwelling there, shifting back to what can I do immediately now? Scheduled an appointment with a massage therapist. I'm doing 20 to 30 minutes every day of my own soft tissue practice and stretching that I basically space throughout the day. Cleaning up the diet, focusing on trying to reduce a lot of the things that may be irritants for that. Obviously high sugar consumption, all these other, but focusing on the things that I can actually tangibly work on right now versus dwelling and staying there. And that's hard for me, man. I'll feel myself weave in and out of that. I'll be really good, and then it kind of like tries to pull me back under when I usually feel it peak at that, meaning like I'm usually very agitated at that point. So I'm pissed off at the fact that I have these migraines going on, because we're talking at its peak, it was 4 days a week. That affects my work, right? That affects my relationship with my clients and their results and the dynamic with my family. But certain periods through that, and it's much better. I probably get maybe 1 a week now, and it's kind of dwindling from there. But looking at a dark period within that, the second I'd get super irritated and pissed off about it, it would just amplify what was going on. My migraine would get worse to the point where when it clicks into the nausea, that's where I usually can't handle it. Testing out things, like almost like what Tim Ferriss does, right? Figuring out that 80-20 rule. What's the 20% of things that I can do right now that's going to yield 80% of the results, the improvements that I want, I think is important. But focusing on those things has helped tremendously. Recognizing that I am going to have this kind of ebb and flow a little bit. I won't live there. And the second I start to feel it now, I really try and shift my focus on, all right, what are things you can get up and do right now? That's hard when you have a migraine and it's kind of ruined your day and you're just like, you have to zone out. What I will do is focus back on my breathing, right? Diaphragmatically breathing. Ice pack is working better. I was initially applying heat to relax the muscles. It was just amplifying that. So applying the ice pack to the back of my head has helped a ton. Once I can do that for 5 to 10 minutes, I'll do a little bit of soft tissue work, stretch, and then I'll repeat. Spending sometimes 10 to 20 minutes, literally just eyes closed, laying down if I need to, focusing on that one thing that I control, which is my breathing. Because I'm more prone to being anxious, I clench my jaw a lot, and that's feeding into it. Because if this muscle gets super tight, it's actually going to pull on this muscle here, that occipitalis here. It's going to cause compression, and then it's not going to like me, right? I have a month and a half until the functional range conditioning cert, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm where I need to be there as well, because I don't want to go out there, do a cert, and I'm having migraines, right? It's not going to be a good time. It's going to be a waste of my money because I'm not going to be able to absorb as much as I need to and have those interactions that I want, right? Meeting new people, all those other things. So right now I do have kind of this plan that I'm going through. Not going to push it too hard, recognizing that, hey, if it's 3 or 6 months or maybe even a year that I'm dealing with this and I have to slowly do these things, that's okay. And that's where I usually see people, and it's kind of can be their downfall, is they think that it's going to be forever, like it's a permanent thing, or they beat themselves up so much for even thinking of this notion that they need a break or that they're going to have be set back or whatever it is. It buries them. So that's really just the point with this. And I'm going to put links for Gary Vee stuff. I think his is very, very important. But Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, all these other guys, right? And a lot of people know this stuff, but it's hard sometimes when I'm on the other end of it and I'm telling clients these things, but I also have to practice it myself. And I also tell clients all the time, dude, we fall off track all the time. We're human, right? And we're, as trainers, dealing with injuries. It's one of those things where we talk about like chiropractors, massage therapists, personal trainers. We're usually pretty broken with our body, which is why we got into the field in the first place. But taking that to heart this time around has helped tremendously with my mindset personally. Because like I said before, I would typically I'd beat myself up about it, and then I'd be stressed about it, and then it just becomes cyclical. Now it's just this building thing that I can't stop. So that is it for this video. If it brought you guys any value, hit the like button for me. If you have any questions, comments, if you've dealt with that also, to open up and create a dialogue with that would be amazing. If you guys want to continue to follow along with all of my content, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.